If I was going on a long-term trip and someone handed me a little jar and said you can only take one herb with you, fill your jar with one herb, the one I would pick might surprise you. I wouldn't pick the big flashy one that everyone's hyped up about lately. Hello, ashwagandha. I wouldn't even pick the strongest, like knockout punch herb in the world. I wouldn't go with something strong like rhodiola rosea or ginseng. Instead, I would choose the herb that shows up quietly and consistently and absolutely changed my life. And this is a plant that everybody needs to know. And today, I'm going to teach you all about it, but we're not just going to talk about the basics. We're going to dive a little deeper on this one today because this is an herb every family needs to know. So the herb we're talking about today, it is known as one of the most calming herbs that you can grow. And a lot of people completely misunderstand calming herbs and get it completely twisted. Here's the thing. Most people assume when you're using a calming herb, your goal is to shut your feelings down, to numb out, to take a magic pill of sorts to feel better. But I would argue that's not necessarily the right approach. A gentle calming herb should sort of dim the noise or turn down the lights, but it shouldn't leave you in the dark forever, right? What if instead your body just needs a little gentle support to bring it back online, back into balance, so it can do what it already knows how to do and handle this upset on its own? Our bodies know how to accomplish calm if we just remove the junk that's keeping us all stirred up. Sometimes an herb works not because it removes the overstimulation, but because it helps your body learn to function in the stress. So drinking this cup of tea isn't going to remove all stress from my life, but it is going to calm my body down so that I will know how to handle the stress without amping out completely. Any guesses what this herb is yet? We've still got a few more facts to go over. So let me just paint a quick profile for you and you tell me if any of this sounds familiar. You're completely tired of feeling overwhelmed. You're basically sick and tired of being sick and tired. It doesn't matter how much you sleep, you never wake up rested. In fact, you kind of feel like you're stuck in fight, flight, or freeze all the time. Maybe your nervous system is just completely out of whack. Maybe you're stuck in a feeling of panic or anxiety. Maybe it's not even like an extreme mental health issue you're dealing with. Maybe it's not even anxiety in the typical sense, but maybe it's just this low level kind of background static or this dark cloud that won't lift, or just this ongoing feeling of being dysregulated, like I just don't feel right in my own body. Does any of that sound familiar? If so, you're going to want to drink a cup of this tea too. This particular herb is sort of a superstar for racing thoughts in particular. And what I mean by that is if your body is sitting still and you're trying to settle down and rest, but your mind won't calm down and your mind won't be still, so maybe you lay down to go to sleep at night or maybe to take a nap and your thoughts won't turn off enough for you to fall asleep. If that's you, this is an herb you're going to want to know. You know, something I've noticed, especially about women, is a lot of times we look fine on the outside, but on the inside, we're drowning. It's kind of like if you think about a duck swimming on a pond. It looks like the duck is just floating so gently across the pond, so peaceful, so serene. But if you were to go underneath the water and watch the duck, all you would see is the feet just flapping 1,000 miles a minute, paddling through the pond. And it's interesting that the duck is very, very busy, even though he looks completely at rest floating on the pond. For a lot of us as women, we kind of have that same setup with our mental health, especially, and our emotional health. Maybe outwardly we look really calm. In one of the most difficult seasons of my life emotionally, I looked completely put together on the outside. My coworkers had no idea I was falling apart. And maybe you've done the same thing. You know, we're good at putting on a mask, but anxiety is sometimes invisible. For me, anxiety is never a really loud, obvious issue. You probably are not going to see me having a panic attack in public. You're probably never going to see me breaking out in hives or hyperventilating or having these like very outward signs that I'm anxious. Instead, anxiety for me feels like a knot in my stomach, a flutter in my heart. A lot of times it feels like staying home in my safe place instead of going out to social events. Social anxiety is very real. But anxiety doesn't look the same for everyone. And just because you don't feel anxiety in your body the way the world tells you it is felt, that doesn't mean you don't have anxiety. And so today, one of the things I want us to talk about is invisible anxiety and what a real effect it can have on your life. It's sort of like a constant background static that just wears you thin over time. Maybe you can endure it for a little while, maybe nobody notices, but if you keep going long enough, eventually it will catch up to you and you're going to crash and you're going to burn out, friend. So we're going to get ahead of it and we're going to tackle invisible anxiety before it ramps into this massive issue that becomes life disrupting. And this herb is one that's really going to help. So if you relate to this part and you're like, yes, Amber, I also battle some invisible anxiety, tell me about it. Tell me about it in the comments. Let me know I'm not alone. Let me tell you somebody else who could really benefit from this particular plant. Okay, how about if you're one of those people who just cannot sit still? You cannot rest. I have a dear friend like this, and she is incredible, but she never sits down. And I'm here to tell you, she wears me out. If I spend more than an hour with her, I am exhausted because I like to go at a slower pace in life. But this friend of mine, she never sits still. That's kind of her superpower. She handles it well, but eventually she hits a wall and she will be so exhausted, but still unable to settle her body and settle her brain. If that sounds like you, this particular plant is going to change everything for you, because I'm here to tell you, my friend started using this one first as a tea and then later as a tincture because it had worked so well. She wanted to see what a tincture would do. And that tincture completely changed her life. And it brought her a bit of balance, better sleep, and she never runs out of that tincture anymore. And here's the thing, this particular plant, if you haven't guessed it yet, I'm going to tell you what it is in a minute. But this particular plant is so incredibly effective and it can help with lots of things. So for instance, for this friend, the plant comes in and brings focus. It brings calm and it brings focus. It helps her to sleep. So how can a plant both help with focus and alertness, but also help with sleep? It seems contradictory, but that's why herbs are amazing, because herbs have many constituents. You know, a lot of times when a pharmaceutical product is developed, they'll take a plant and they'll notice, you know, it really helps with XYZ. And so they will assume out of the 1,200 constituents in that plant, the individual parts of the plant, they'll say it must be that one that's making it effective. And they'll isolate it in a lab and they'll turn it into a pill. And sometimes the pill works, but it doesn't work for everyone because God created that plant to have 1,200 constituents and we just picked one. And while that one constituent might work for, 20% of the population, the other 80% needed one of the other constituents that we've completely removed. And so when we isolate like that, we lose a lot of the power of plant medicine. And part of learning to use whole plants and turn them into teas and into tinctures is so we can free up all the constituents and have better results. And it will work in different ways. And that's why this one herb can help with focus and alertness and also with calmness and sleep. So one single plant can serve lots of purposes and help with lots of different things. It's never just a one plant to one condition situation. And that's why a lot of times you guys leave comments and you'll say, which herb should I take for XYZ? And you'll tell me something you're struggling with. And it's really hard to just give you like a crisp, clean, magic answer there, because the true answer is it depends. It depends on your body. It depends on what else you're taking in terms of pharmaceuticals. It depends on which constituents and which herbs that your body will match with. And so herbalism is really personal, and it's not fast medicine. In fact, it's usually very slow medicine that comes in the form of a tea or a tincture or even a salve. So if any of that is resonating with you, I think this is an herb that you're going to need. But there's still one more person that I think this herb will be a fit for. Okay, it's freezing outside and Josh is running some fences. So if you heard some banging in the background, that was Josh. Hi, honey. So we're going to come back inside for the rest of the lesson. But the next person that this herb is going to be absolutely incredible for is the one who has experienced trauma. And this is a hard topic, but we're going to talk about it. So when the body experiences trauma in any form, it will have a response. And we know from science that trauma activates the limbic brain. Now, if you don't know what the limbic brain is, let me explain. If you hold your hand out flat like this, put your thumb in, and then wrap your fingers over the top, just like that, okay? Your thumb now represents your limbic brain, okay? Inside the rest of your brain, that's the limbic part. Your limbic brain is responsible for your fight, flight, or freeze response. And your limbic brain is a part of your brain that you don't get to control with logic, okay? So what I mean by this is if you have gone through trauma and something triggers that trauma, a sight, a smell, a taste, a memory, it can be anything. But if something triggers it and your body is reminded, your body will respond just like you're still in the middle of the trauma. Let me give you a really personal example of this. And this is a story I have not shared publicly. So you guys, you do know that I battled infertility. And I think I've told you that over the years, we have taken in a lot of kids. We have done respite care and some foster care, and we've really just kind of been like the house where all kids are welcome if they need a place to stay. And that has led us to some very interesting situations over the years, and we have experienced a lot of loss. And for me, if you would have asked me when I was younger, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would have told you, I want to be a mom. I want to be a pastor's wife. I am both of those things. And I would have said, and I want to have 12 kids. But my body couldn't do it. I couldn't have 12 kids. I barely was able to have 2. And they are a miracle. And I'm so grateful that I got the gift of being able to be a mom. But it still never felt quite complete. And so we filled our home with other kids who needed a family. And it was always deeply rewarding. But it was also really difficult when they would leave. And most recently, as our kids have gotten older, it's kind of looked different. Instead of bringing in babies and toddlers and preschoolers, now most of our bonus kids, as we call them, are teenagers, which creates a whole different dynamic. And so last year, we had a teenager who was living with us and had been for a good while, probably over a year. And if you had asked me a year ago if I thought that this child would remain part of my family forever, I would have said, of course. Like, this one's different. It's a done deal. This child will stick forever. So ultimately, I had allowed myself the tiniest little bit of hope. And it kind of came back to bite me. And I'm not going to tell the whole story because it's not truly my story to tell. And God is still very much restoring and healing and working out this situation. But pretty out of the blue and through some really crazy circumstances, this child left our family. And not only left our family, but went completely no contact and cut us off and basically just broke our hearts. And I don't say that in like a way of casting blame on the child. This child had been through a lot of really terrible things. But it broke my heart. And if I'm just going to be completely honest with you, it wasn't just this loss. This loss made me remember all of the losses that have come over the years before, the miscarriages, the times I sat in a doctor's office and heard not pregnant, the times that, you know, we sat across from an adoption agency and got rejected, or, you know, XYZ. There has been nothing but trauma in my adult life around becoming a mother. And when this all came about and things kind of fell apart and this child left, I had a weird physical response. When the child came and actually moved their things out of the house, I actually fainted. And I have never had that happen before. But I got hot all over and I didn't feel right. And then my vision started going. And the next thing you know, I'm on the ground. And Allie, my daughter, was here and she was scared, you know, and called for help. And ultimately, like, I thought, you know, something had to be like really bad wrong. I've never passed out. But what it turned out to be after some tests and looking into it is I just had more than my nervous system could handle. And it was such an intensely emotional moment. And I was trying really hard not to respond outwardly in a way that would make it harder for my kids and for this child that was leaving. But as soon as she left, I just collapsed. Sometimes, this is for those of us who'd like to do that whole invisible anxiety thing and put a face on, your body will eventually catch up. And when it happens, it might be something like happened to me where it's just a trigger, an extreme emotion, and your body says you've had enough and it shuts down. Now, when this happened, I didn't feel right for about 2 days after. I just did not feel like myself. And you guessed it, I leaned on my herbs, and this one in particular to attack my nervous system and to help me come back to like a very regulated place again. Because when that happens and your nervous system freaks out and you pass out, or maybe your response is that you throw up, or maybe your response is you fall asleep, or maybe your response is like you just go to like a really dark pit of depression. Maybe your response is you just try to outrun it all by keeping so busy there's no time for you to think about it. If any of those sound familiar, your nervous system really, really wants you to try this tea I'm drinking today. Final fact about this herb, and then I'm going to reveal to you exactly who this incredible plant is if you haven't figured it out already. This herb would be my desert island herb, the one herb I would take if I were going to be stranded on a desert island. If I could only have one herb, I would choose this one because it is the perfect multi-purpose herb. It helps with so many things. Upset stomach, try this tea. Headache, try this tea. Can't sleep, try this tea. Can't focus, try this tea. Like, I literally feel like almost any issue that people bring up to me and come to me for looking for some help, this herb is almost always a fit. There's only a handful of people who can't use this one, and it's perfectly safe for children. In fact, one of the best parts about this herb is it's antiviral, and it has been studied, and it especially fights the virus that causes chickenpox and shingles. So, you know, if you need a little antiviral help in your life, this will be the herb for you. And if the shingles didn't give you the final clue, well, it's time for the reveal. And if you've heard my story, you already know the herb we're talking about is lemon balm. Lemon balm is the one herb that I would never live without. In fact, I have it growing in about a dozen places on our farm. We harvest pounds and pounds and pounds of lemon balm. In fact, here in our tea shop, we have been sending out pounds and pounds of our lemon balm that we saved from last summer, so much so that we're going to plant way more this year because you guys are loving it. So lemon balm is just a powerhouse herb, and it helps with all these things we've been talking about. And it has all the different constituents, so it can help in lots of different ways. And you'll notice if you look at my tea blends that I offer in the herb shop, you will find lemon balm in almost every tea blend that I make. And the reason for that is it is such a multi-purpose herb, and almost 100% of the time it will be a match for people. Now let's talk about the exceptions. Here's who shouldn't be taking lemon balm. First off, if you have thyroid issues, specifically if you battle hypothyroidism, you want to be careful with lemon balm. Now, thyroid issues don't necessarily mean you can't drink lemon balm. In fact, when I started taking lemon balm, I was actively dealing with Hashimoto's. My daughter also has Hashimoto's, and she actually has to be on medication for her thyroid because it is so bad, and she's had a lot of trouble with her thyroid. And this herb has been great for both of us. But if you're going to drink lemon balm and you have thyroid issues or you're taking thyroid medication, you've got to be monitored really closely. That means you've got to be getting regular lab work to monitor your levels and make sure that the lemon balm plus the medication is not giving you too much thyroid change. You know, it's a very delicate balance. So it's not necessarily that you can't have lemon balm if you have thyroid issues, but it's just that you've got to be a little extra careful about taking it. The other person who should avoid lemon balm is the one who is allergic to mint. Okay, if you are allergic to any kind of mint, you can't have lemon balm because it's in the mint family. And also a word of caution, if you're going to grow this one, remember it's in the mint family, and mints love to spread. So wherever you put it, just be prepared that it's going to spread and take over that entire area. So you might want to put it in a pot, you might want to put it in a raised bed, or somewhere where you can corral it and kind of keep it under control. How are we taking lemon balm? That's the big question. Now that you know about this herb and you know all the incredible ways that it can be used for sleep, for stress, for headaches, for chicken pox, for rashes, literally anything. This herb is incredible. So now that you know that, let's talk about the ways that you can use it and incorporate it into your personal holistic health routine. So obviously you see me drinking my tea here. Lemon balm tea is incredible. It tastes delicious. It has maybe a slight hint of the mint to it, but it's not going to be like a peppermint because the predominant flavor is citrus. It has like this really nice lemony finish to it. And you can drink lemon balm tea pretty often, up to 5 cups a day, unless you have thyroid issue, up to 5 cups a day of lemon balm tea. So you can just get a kettle going and sip it all day long. And while we're talking about tea, I wanted to show you guys this beautiful mug. We have added these mugs to the herb shop, and you can see they come with a little cross. You can actually choose the color of the cross on your mug. And here's the best part. These mugs are made by Prodigal Pottery, and it is a women's shelter in Alabama. And the ladies in the shelter are painting the ceramic crosses on the mugs. And so when you buy one of these, 50% of every purchase is going to that women's shelter to support their ministry and what they're doing to help ladies. So grab you a mug, support a really good cause, and also a great reminder that our Creator is the one that gave us all these good herbs in the first place. So why not have a mug to help you keep that in mind? So lemon balm tea is the way to go if you're just starting out with this herb and you're like, what's the gentlest way to use it? Now, if you respond well to lemon balm tea and you notice that it makes you feel good and you really like the effect, but you'd like a little bit of a stronger effect, then you can progress to a lemon balm tincture. And we have a whole video for you about how to make a lemon balm tincture. I will link it for you in the description. but lemon balm tincture is going to be stronger. Typically, I tell people a drop of lemon balm tincture would be about equivalent to drinking like 5 cups of lemon balm tea. It's just a much more concentrated effect. So you could do the tea, you could do the tincture. Another way that I really love using lemon balm is in an oil infusion, or you can make a salve by adding some beeswax and shea butter. But infusing lemon balm into an oil and then using it on the skin is so good with this one because it fights the viruses. So we're talking things like shingles and chickenpox and cold sores, anything that is bound from the herpes virus. Lemon balm is going to help. So having something topical when those things pop up is incredible. You could get some lemon balm and you could literally just create your own little serum that you dab when you get cold sores if you're prone to that. I keep a lemon balm and rose oil that I put on the spot where I had shingles anytime it's giving me pain, or I tend to have like a little leftover nerve pain in that area. It wrapped kind of around my side. And I will use lemon balm infused oil to soothe that pain, and it really helps. You could even use it when you have an active case of shingles too, to kind of calm it down. And you could take the lemon balm internally and you could use it topically and really get like a double dose to kind of get it under control fast. So it's going to help with tons of things. You can take it as a tea, you can take it as a tincture, you can make an infused oil, you can make a salve. There are just endless ways to use it. And if all of that sounds overwhelming and you're like, girl, I don't know how to do all of that, hold on, I got you. So last fall, I actually worked on putting together a book, and this comes in ebook form, but you can print it. I had mine spiral bound, but it comes as a download. You can save it to your phone, to your computer, and in this download, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to make teas, tinctures, salves, poultices. We're going to talk about how to build a home apothecary, which herbs are most important, and then you're going to have herb profiles. For instance, here's one on echinacea, and each herb profile is going to walk you through how to use the herb, what it's great for, who shouldn't use it, and what cautions you need to keep in mind. So if you're looking for a starter herbal resource to help you get a good foundation and learn the basics of how to use these plants in a safe way, this is going to be it. And I will link it for you below. It includes safety, dosages, all the things. It's an automatic download, so you can start reading it literally 30 seconds from now if you click and grab it today. But the big idea here is that herbs are for everyone, right? And you can use herbs for so many different things. But in this case, if I could only choose one plant, and it was the only plant that I could ever use medicinally again, you can bet your bottom dollar that I would choose lemon balm. Before you go, I just want to remind you that lemon balm is more than just a medicinal herb. In fact, I think the reason that I love this one so much is because it paints such a perfect picture of the Lord's kindness and how He works in our lives. Let me tell you what I mean. So when we take lemon balm, for instance, if you can't sleep and you drink lemon balm tea isn't going to force you to fall asleep. But what it's going to do is it's going to calm your nervous system down from the inside out so that your body can fall asleep on its own. It's not a sedative, but it calms the nervous system so the body can naturally fall asleep. In the same way, if you are trying to focus to take a test, this isn't going to hype you up or act like a stimulant, but what it's going to do is calm the nervous system down and remove that dark cloud and all the distractions so you can focus and so your body can do what it naturally knows to do. So the idea here is it's not that lemon balm comes in and forces change in the body. And this is where that picture of Christ comes in. Because when He comes into our lives, He doesn't come in and force change. He's a gentleman. He's not going to come in and flip your life upside down just to force you to love and serve Him. But what He will do is quietly change you from the inside out. Because the more you know Him, the more you'll be changed by Him. You can't help but be changed. And the same is true with lemon balm. It just quietly changes the body from the inside out. And so when I think about, my desert island herb and which herb I would take if I could only have one, that picture of Christ really sticks out to me. And I want to choose an herb that will be gentle and bring change from the inside out, be multi-purpose, all the things we've talked about. So if you needed an excuse to try an herb for the first time, let it be lemon balm. And I hope that you'll grab a bag of lemon balm tea this week, try it for yourself, mix up your first tincture, brew up your first salve, but be empowered to know that God has given us everything we need for health and healing through plants, and lemon balm is just the start of the story. Come back next week and I'll tell you about another herb that can also bring incredible transformation. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.